Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog here on the BuzWeaver channel. Now, typically we cover current events, headlines that are in the news, social media, pop culture, and technology. However, today this will be exclusively on the election and it will be a little different. But if this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you. For the returning visitors and subscribers, thank you guys for all of your support, as we'll be doing things a little bit different today. All right, guys, for this Friday vlog today, we're going to be down in the Studio A, where we will be looking at information off of the computer itself. So we're going to move from the camera down onto the computer.
All right, guys, so welcome to Studio A for the Friday vlog election 2020 edition. So let's look at the current results. And I should remind everyone that these are currently projections and some that have already been called for either Biden or the president. So, of course, here in Georgia, we are still waiting for additional counts. It looks like things are going very well for the president in North Carolina. In Pennsylvania, things are getting interesting and a bit dicey. Of course, we saw some videos floating around of the individual who was on Tucker Carlson last night from Philadelphia, where he was a poll observer and they were not letting him into a particular poll, despite the fact that his certificate allowed him to go to any polling station he wanted. I don't know how much of an issue that is here in Georgia. And then, of course, we're out here in Nevada. Now, I don't know if the other video we saw from Fox yesterday, where the lady was talking about how she saw or looked up for her ballot information and saw that she had voted for someone that she had not voted for. So fraud obviously is the highlight of many people's discussion as well. So right now, Georgia still in play, of course, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Nevada. These are key states that the president is going to need if he is going to win the 270. Now, I believe that the reason we're seeing Biden at 264 is because they already called it for him, at least here in the graph in Arizona. And although they haven't counted for him in Nevada, I've not done the ticker to see like what the numbers are. I do have that as a tab, but I just want to show you guys where we're at right now. So let's take a quick look at the Senate. It looks like the Republicans are going to be able to maintain the majority there, which is going to be very good. You guys may remember that one of the lines from Joe Biden's during the debate was the fact that he couldn't get anything done during the Obama administration because of the Senate. So, of course, here in the states, we have balances of power so that no one particular branch can outweigh the other. So it kind of keeps things in check. And so during the Obama administration, the Republicans held both the House and the Senate. So right now we are holding the House right now. Of course, we'll get more seats once the Georgia election goes through. This will be David Perdue here. And then, of course, here in North Carolina, it looks like Tom Tillis is going to win it there as well. And then, of course, we have no information or data from it here in Pennsylvania. The House is, they vote on the House every 2 years, whereas the Senate, they vote every 4 years, and there are no term limits in the Senate, all right? So now let's go over here to the House real quick, and you can see that the Republicans have picked up 6 seats, and the Democrats have lost 5 seats. So right now, the Republicans are at 194, the Democrats are at 210. The majority would be 218. So again, waiting for results out of some of these other states to see what additional seats the Republicans may gain. Now, I want to kind of make a quick jump now over to something very interesting that came out yesterday. This is that Nancy is on the brink. Democrats are now plotting to oust Pelosi as Speaker after their House majority shrunk, aimed her refusal to do a COVID deal as AOC-led squad circles the embattled leader. So what we're seeing here, guys, is the progressive left of the squad trying to then inject their own ideologies and philosophies into the House. However, they're going to be far more challenged now, particularly if Pelosi is ousted. But this ousting is really more of a demonstration of their ability to exert their power, very similar to what the House did to President Trump. Knowing that they couldn't remove the president, they still moved with their action to impeach the president. So Despite the fact that they always like to accuse the president of abusing his power, when they're given the opportunity to use their power, they do it, and that's perfectly fine, right? Because as we always say, the left doesn't hold itself to the same standards they expect from everyone else. So now let's move over here to Tony Thomas from WSB here in Atlanta. We see that there are 4,800 votes put into the system, but not verified yet. Secretary of State confirms to me that there are other votes outstanding in Gwinnett. Gwinnett County is to the northeast of Atlanta. They have not entered all that yet, likely north of total 6,000 plus in reality for Gwinnett. It's hard to say. Some people say that Gwinnett leans more to Biden. However, I do want to share this story from yesterday. Now, this has been updated as of 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. As of this recording, it is 1:51, so this was just a few moments ago. And what I wanted to point out here is, first, there's the fact that actually not all the votes have come in. The deadlines for overseas and military ballots to arrive is actually Friday at 5 p.m. So many votes there are right now will increase by some. What's that? I'm sorry. So however, many votes there are right now will increase by some. Okay, I read that correctly. Maybe that's just their copy editor needs to work. Probably not a lot, but also not zero. So the Secretary of State says so. We're anticipating somewhere around 8,800 military ballots. And right now, the difference between, what was it? Let's go back over here. So the difference, I believe it was in Georgia, is around 1,500 votes is the difference that Biden is in the lead right now. So if we can make an assumption that there are 8,800 military votes, that may give the president enough within that margin to put him over the 1,500. Now, of course, as I said, with these ballots over here in Gwinnett still being counted, it's going to be razor, razor thin. So the president is going to need as many military votes that can come in by Friday at 5 p.m. Of course, guys, there are never any guarantees on what is going to happen. This is why, although I was very optimistic and hoping that we would get a result, a clear result, I do want to show you this, because remember in our conversations during the week, we talked about how part of the narrative, of course, was concerning the pandemic, which I still cannot mention by its name or I will be demonetized. You can see here that, as we talked about, as a strategy from the media, the mainstream media, was they were going for the popular kid in school narrative. So as you can see here, how badly they got the polling wrong. Over here in Alaska, they were wrong by negative 22 points. The average was negative 7.3 wrong. This is significant because as commentators, as individuals who post on the internet, we are often scrutinized heavily by platforms because our information can't be trusted. Our information can't be verified. Our information can't be vetted. We're not in the elite. We don't have the pedigree to be able to espouse our thoughts on things without facing some level of scrutiny from the mainstream media and the tech giants, who have been really more bullied than have been manipulative. But we know that they were doing that. We saw that as part of some of the information that I presented to you the other day when it came to Google. What was it? Janae, for example, from Google, who was caught on Veritas saying that they were going to do everything they could to manipulate it. But you can see here, absolutely called it so incredibly wrong. So another of the election posts I have here. I also wanted to mention real quick, a quick plug for Portland Andy. He has been covering the protest / peaceful demonstrations / unrest now since May. This was some of the coverage that he had from yesterday. I'm going to turn the volume down here so there won't be a strike. But as you can see here, we have an individual who I cannot mention by name right here. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with him as they are out there protesting in Phoenix. And of course, he has other live cam streams from some of the Black Lives Matter and Antifa groups that do appear each night on his channel. So if you guys are curious to kind of peek in and see what's going on, you can jump over here to Portland Andy and kind of check him out. And of course, another one of my favorite commentators and professional journalists who has worked across the globe to present his information, for example, to Vice News, where he used to work, among other some of the accolades that he has. So we have Tim Cast here. A lot of my aggregated information comes from his site, so if you guys want to check out Tim Cast. This is his kind of less formal news channel. His more professional news platform is his Timcast Tim Pool right here. This is where he does more of his professional journalism information. And then, of course, we have our good buddy Stix Hexenhammer. He is still in the Netherlands. He married a Dutch woman, and I guess he is on a marriage visa there in the Netherlands, or the Nederlanden, as I like to say it. So he is there in the Netherlands doing his reporting each night around 2 a.m. our time Eastern here, around 3 or 4 a.m. Eastern our time. He tried to stay up the other night to do some live coverage for the election, but it was already 3 in the morning, and he was still trying to struggle with that. Real Clear Politics, another great site to get aggregated polling information. So I like to use Real Clear Politics to gather some of my information. And yesterday, the Georgia Secretary of State office, I watched the press briefing from yesterday, and there was a question to the individual there. I don't know if it was Gabriel here or not. I don't recall. It may have been Gabe. I don't know. But I know that yesterday a question was presented to the Secretary of State's office, and the answer or the response was that we have not used ballots in 20 years. Now, that's a very vague response. I'm going to assume that the question that he was presented with was a question regarding mail-in ballots. And he was saying perhaps that we have not seen this level of applications for these ballots in over 20 years. You guys know that I received an application for a ballot. I did not complete it. I voted in person. My father did receive a ballot that he did not request. And as we just discussed, when we go back here to the popular kid in school narrative, right? We knew that the Democrats were going to leverage the pandemic to keep people and or suggest or imply by them that everyone should vote by mail-in ballot. So I think perhaps they coordinated with some of the registration offices to have ballots and or applications sent, even though people did not request them. Now, I will confess, in fairness, that I am a registered Republican, although I am not officially part of the party any longer. I believe my father is a registered Republican and still maintains his party connections as well as his financial supports to President Trump and so forth. So, but he did not request a ballot, as best I understand from him. I believe he mentioned that he did complete his ballot. He did not submit it, but he had to take it to the polling station to then have it destroyed, and then he placed his vote. So as of right now, of course, we are waiting to see what is going to happen. So some other scenarios that we had talked about, I talked about them briefly. Tim goes into them in more detail on his channel about this being contested in the courts. You guys may be wondering, why was it that President Trump came out and announced kind of a sort of quasi-victory, and Biden kind of came out and presented a semi-quasi victory? And that is because if the president is going to challenge this, he has to say that based upon, projections and the way the results were going, that he had won in these particular areas, and he will want a recount and contest some of these because, again, going back to Pennsylvania, the AG there, the Attorney General, seemed to have been changing the rules as they were going along, whether post-dated or non-post-dated ballots would be counted, whether or not correct signatures matching the ballots would be counted. Of course, some of that involves married people or divorcees or others who have either changed their names due to marriage or have divorced and have reverted back to their original name. This also includes people that have received ballots in homes that they have purchased from the previous resident, and that's what happened with Tim. Tim was living in Philadelphia. I believe he still has a residence there. He has now moved from Philadelphia, but he did receive a ballot for the resident of the previous owner of the house that he lived in. I Probably he took that to the polling station and they handled it for him, but he did end up voting in person. So out of Pennsylvania. Now, North Carolina is looking very strong for the president. Now, I don't know whether or not Joe would actually contest North Carolina, because all Joe really needs is either Georgia or Pennsylvania or even Nevada, and he's got it. As you can see here, he's at 6. And I think it's kind of amusing because for the last 4 years, we had to constantly hear about how President Trump won the electoral votes, but didn't win the popular vote. And of course, we don't go by popular vote here in the United States. But if you guys are curious, these are the popular vote statistics right here. And then, of course, we have the additional statistics here. So we're just kind of in this limbo state. But here we are in Studio A, and I just kind of wanted to give you kind of a little bit more of an in-depth type overview, because it's much easier for me to kind of present all this data for you so you can kind of see, because I have to do all this from memory when I'm upstairs in Studio B trying to do all this. I'm trying to do all this just from memory, but today I got the ability to kind of present this to you in a little bit better situation and circumstance. So here we're just seeing some Clayton County information. But if you guys want, you guys can always obviously Google any of these titles and headings and see any of these. And you guys can go directly to these sites and read this information. They are updating this in real time. So last night when I had saved this, it was like 2:30 in the morning, so it has been updated. But again, the Secretary of State's office says that they are looking at around 800 or 8,800 military. I'm sorry, guys, I've had like very little sleep in the last several days. So this is where we are, and I hope you guys enjoyed this special election coverage.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support. If you haven't already, be sure you're following me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Parlay. Those links are below the video. You guys can go directly there. If you're watching this on your mobile or on your computer, you can just click on those links and give me a follow there. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube PC, that would be the channel icon appearing right there on the screen for you to subscribe, as well as getting those notifications marked. This way you guys will know when there's content here on the channel, as well as the Friday vlogs. And I will see you guys right there behind that camera next Friday.